By far, the hottest topic this week in gaming is the Steam Machine, which is essentially a consoleized version of the popular and critically acclaimed Steam Deck. And I've already talked about all of the details surrounding the new hardware they've announced, the Steam Machine, the console itself. Then there's the controller that basically emulates everything the Steam Deck has in terms of inputs, from the trackpads to the capacitive touch to all of the elements that make that input option just so extensive, the back pedal button, so on and so forth. And then there's the Steam Frame, which is the VR headset that is aimed at being able to make it as easy as possible to engage with VR, that also connects with the other Steam devices just really seamlessly. So this family of consoles is something that has garnered a lot of attention, and it is something that we don't know the price point of quite yet, and that I think will be a key factor in ensuring the success of this device. They got to find the sweet spot. But we do know that it's coming out sometime in Q1 of 2026. And we do know that the potential of a device like this is immense, with its ability to bridge the gap between the console gamers and the PC gamers, with it being an easy to use and intuitive and kind of lean as far as operating system is concerned PC gaming experience. Now, based on its compact size, a 6x6 cube, and the fact that its power is roughly the equivalent of an RTX 4060 or an AMD RX 7600M, it is likely that this device will offer a lot of value and that it will be relatively affordable. Valve did confirm that they're not fully treating the prices for the Steam Machine like a console, because your traditional console has software that essentially makes up for the expenses of building the hardware, whereas this is a PC that is not aiming for exclusives and the like, so it will be a little more expensive than consoles, but hopefully still within a reasonable enough range. And if that ends up being the case, then the immense potential of the Steam Machine could be something that genuinely disrupts the gaming landscape in a really positive way. But what I think really stands out about Steam and Valve and the way they're doing hardware is the amount of respect and the amount of credit that they're giving to consumers. One of the most amazing things about Steam Deck was that Valve really encouraged people to tinker with it. They want people to customize it. They're not trying to make this like a really closed environment. They're trying to open it up as much as possible so people do with the device whatever they want without any punishments. And so the Steam Deck, worked with iFixit to ensure that all of the components are readily available for people to tinker with it or to fix it and repair it however they want. They made various components very accessible so people can change things in and out. They provided a lot of 3D modeling CAD files so that people could 3D print their own stuff to customize their Steam Deck. And then software-wise, they're very open about the fact that this is a PC and you should do with it whatever you want. And what's great about the Steam Machine is that all of those elements that made the Steam Deck just that much more special, that level of respect for consumers, is carrying through the Steam Machine. I've been looking at a lot of media outlets' coverage of the Steam Machine, those who've gone hands-on with the device and who have managed to interview Valve. And what's really apparent is that Valve really wants the Steam Machine to be something that users are able to tailor to their needs. One really neat feature, for example, about the Steam Machine are these detachable front plates that essentially attach magnetically, making it really easy to swap in and out. And what Valve really wants is for people to really run away with this, which is why, for example, they have provided the CAD files to 3D print these plates, and that way it's very easy for folks to do what they want with that aspect, with that customizability. That was something that Linus Tech Tips relayed in his video, in his coverage of the Steam Machine, and he highlighted the example of printables, for example, for the Steam Deck, and how Valve and Steam have made it very easy for people to engage with this kind of customization for the Steam Deck, and that's an aspect that will carry forward with the Steam Machine. One of the examples that Valve showed off during the hands-on event was this custom-made e-ink display that they used as a front panel. While this is not something that as of right now will officially be sold, it is one of the capabilities they can engage in with these front plates. People are hoping that Valve will make this stuff officially for sale because, this kind of e-ink display can display a lot of useful information for tinkerers in terms of, the performance of the device and what components are doing, the CPU, GPU, so on and so forth, for benchmarking and whatnot. But the fact that such a level of customization is not only there but encouraged is just not something we see from other gaming hardware manufacturers. You look at the PlayStation 5 and its front plates, that is something that PlayStation is keeping very restricted to PlayStation shipping official versions of those plates, to the point where they actually try to sue a company when they try to sell their own plates, the plates that you can attach and detach to the PS5 and the PS5 Pro. And Sony certainly hasn't gone out of their way to release CAD files that people can then take to custom 3D print those PS5 plates. That is something that people have had to figure out for themselves and not something that Sony encouraged. And that is kind of the stark difference between how Valve approaches hardware development and how they really give customers a lot of agency. Something else that Steam and Valve have confirmed is that this front LED right here is fully customizable and programmable, so you can make it a useful feature and not just something for cosmetics and aesthetic. So, for example, you can make it so that this LED can be treated as a progress bar for download. So you might see something like this where the bar fills up as a download completes. That's like one potential use case of this. And then beyond that, if this is a device that you want to upgrade, it's very easy to do so with the ability to swap out, for example, the M.2 SSD drive here, as Linus Tech Tips highlighted here. It's very easy to disassemble this machine and expose the cube-shaped kind of internals, and then you can tweak it however you want. The RAM is also something you can modify. With a Steam machine being confirmed to use traditional SODIMM slots for RAM, that makes it very easy to swap in and out and expand. And something that was confirmed is that Steam and Valve have every intention to work with iFixit again to ensure that components for the Steam machine are readily available, and so that way repair components and additional components that you might want to use for your Steam machine are as easily accessible as possible. While iFixit didn't get a heads up about the Steam machine, so it's not a partnership that has kind of occurred yet, now that the device has been announced, expect iFixit to have components for the Steam machine readily available, as well as for all of the other Steam hardware and devices. And it's not just on the hardware front where Steam really wants people to have a certain level of freedom that, people expect when they buy a product. It's also on a software level. In fact, on their official page right here, they emphasize that this device, the Steam machine, is ultimately a PC. Yes, Steam machine is optimized for gaming, but it's still your PC. Install your own apps or even another operating system. Who are we to tell you how to use your computer? And I know this is nothing new for a PC. That's just a standard feature of owning a personal computer, but it's just usually not something that is widely marketed. A company doesn't usually tell you use other operating systems. They often really try to promote their own. But with Steam and Valve, they're like, look, SteamOS is there as the baseline. It's already really good. And because they are so confident in how good SteamOS is for gaming, they don't feel like they need to, kind of beg people to use SteamOS. If people want to use Windows for whatever reason, they can install it on it. And not to mention that other people have come up with their own Linux distros like Bazide, which is another popular operating system based on Linux. So what you have here is a PC that offers a console-like experience, but then that you can do with and tinker with however you want. Even on a software level, there's an encouragement for customers to really do what they want with this machine. And that's one area where traditional consoles fall short. They're very optimized for what they do and to play the specific games that especially like first-party publishers design for them, but they're such closed ecosystem and so restrictive in their functionalities that something like a Steam machine just really opens up a world where you not only have accessibility to a console-like experience, that's still a PC experience, but the whole point of the Steam machine is to bridge that gap and to make people's ability to engage with PC gaming as seamless and easy and intuitive as possible, but also to give the power users, basically all the tools that they need to turn this machine into an absolute monster as far as usability is concerned. Steam Deck kind of paved the road for Steam Machine to be that level of software customizability that already has a lot of support because Steam Deck encouraged so much of the community to really kind of contribute to this ecosystem. Things like emulation on the Steam machine, it'll be so simple and easy to set up, and it'll run so well if the Steam Deck is anything to go by. And Valve and Steam don't discourage any of that. If anything, that's the level of customization that they encourage, whereas other devices really don't want you to do any of that. And all of that comes packaged in with a level of media transparency for pre-release coverage. I mean, they're just allowing media outlets to open this thing up and look at every inch and corner of it, and they're answering just about every question they're asked very transparently. They're not really trying to hide anything. As far as the device itself is concerned, we just about know every single little thing about it. We can already be fully prepared for what this device will offer, including the fact that it has custom chips that have been designed with custom software that will allow the performance of this machine to be more than you might think on paper. The one thing they've not revealed is price point, and a big part of that has to do with the fact that economic factors right now are in constant flux, especially with tariffs kind of being a major aspect of the last few months and, the last year or so. The Steam Machine is not just a gaming console that is dedicated to selling games as software. It is also a PC that you can buy for other purposes as well. So you can't rely solely on this machine pushing software sales to make money from this device. So it'll likely be pricier than your traditional console. But I think compared to your typical gaming PC, it'll be significantly more affordable and also significantly more optimized. But yeah, every aspect of how they've marketed the Steam Machine and every information we're receiving about just how open-ended they're making this device on a hardware level and software level for users, for tinkers, for power users, you name it. And at the same time, how seamless and intuitive they're trying to make the PC gaming user experience for newcomers to this landscape. It all speaks to a device that appeals to everyone and tries to really respect everyone, respect all customers, and really respect their ability to choose what to do with the product that they buy. And it's just not something we see usually at this level in the gaming landscape with hardware sellers and manufacturers. So I just wanted to take the time to recognize that and highlight how that's a big part of why Valve and Steam and the new set of Steam hardware family line is garnering so much support, so much praise, because there's a certain level of trust in Valve and Steam that they've built up by being consistently consumer friendly in their approach to, how they sell their products to customers and how open-ended they really want to make everything. It garners a lot of goodwill, which is what Steam and Valve currently have and what's allowed them to make a resurgence with the Steam Machine, because this is not the first Steam device, Steam console PC hybrid that they've shipped, but this is the first time where it feels like the technology is just in the right place, and then Steam and Valve as a company have just had a lot of learnings and all of the reputational buildup from the Steam Deck, and all of that has culminated in the Steam Machine, it being as compact as it is, it being as seemingly useful as it is, and it, seemingly running games as well as it does for such a compact and convenient package. I think this sits in just the right region for it to be a massive success and to be able to really expand the PC gaming audience in a really substantial way. But that's my take. I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on everything announced surrounding the new Steam hardware, the Steam Machine, the Steam Controller, and the Steam Frame in the comments below. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.